This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website at xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Matt Stein, a good friend of the X-Zone. We've had Matt on the show many times. He's an author, engineer, designer, and green builder. Matt sent us some very interesting information this morning, and the producers did some last-minute shuffling so that we could get Matt on the show tonight to discuss this very important information that we have to share with you, the X-Zone Nation. This is part of the information that Matt sent me. It's called The Background on Solar Storm Reliability Standard for U.S. Electric Grid, approved by Federal Energy Regulatory Commission on June 19, 2014, which is less than a month ago. The bit of the preamble is, in a 2010 report, the Oak Ridge National Laboratory concluded that a severe solar storm could leave 130 million Americans without power for 1 to 2 years. In March 1989, a moderate solar storm blocked out the province of Quebec, Canada. Now, here are some of the key non-technical facts. The solar storm standard approved on June 19th was written not by federal government, but a private corporation governed by vote of its members, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, NERC. 70% of NERC members are electric utilities. Of those voting on the standard, 92 were in favor. Of approximately 2,000 electric utilities, 90% are exempted from the solar storm standard. Wow, that's a bit of a tonguey. Including nuclear power plants and all other generation plants. Under the government-approved solar storm standard, electric utilities need to monitor space weather reports from the government, have a paper plan on file, and document self-determined actions during solar storms. In return for these mostly paperwork tasks, electric utilities get liability protection in many states. According the official Federal Energy Regulatory Commission estimate in the approval order, utilities are expected to spend only 20 hours per year complying with the standard at an estimated cost of $1,200 per year per utility. The entire electric utility industry would be expected to expend only $238,000 per year to protect the American public under this solar storm standard. In comparison, the cost of an extended blackout for 130 million Americans would be in the trillions of dollars with substantial loss of life. I'm just going to repeat that last one. In comparison, the cost of an extended blackout for 130 million Americans would be in the trillions of dollars and substantial loss of life. Joining me now is Matt Stein. And Matt, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Oh, thank you, Rob. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. You do such a great job.
Thanks, partner. I've got to tell you, Matt, when you read this, Am I correct in understanding that what has happened, a private industry has gotten a rubber seal from the federal government, giving them basically total non-liability to anything that happens during or that has been caused by a solar storm?
Yeah. You basically have a feel-good, do-nothing ruling. You have something which is where people can pat themselves in the back and say, look, we're all worried about solar storms, but these guys in the electric utility industry have assured us that they have it covered. And not only have they assured us that they've got it covered, they've written a protocol that they say will make sure that we're covered. So we can go to sleep at night and know that when the next major geomagnetic storm happens, we'll all be okay. But that's just a bunch of bull. It's just incompetence, and it's flagrant abuse. This is basically like when they had the oil industry regulating themselves in the Gulf of Mexico, and they said, look, we understand this business way better than you guys in the government. It's our business. Trust us. We know what we're doing. And then the BP oil spill happened. So, but we're looking at not just an oil spill that kills the Gulf of Mexico, which is pretty horrible. I mean, really an eco-disaster. We're looking at something which could be the end of the world as we know it. We're looking at something that could set off a chain of events that causes multiple Fukushima-like events across North America. And we're looking at something that has a hardware solution that's been invented. For roughly $2 billion, they could implement these giant vacuum tube switches that will protect our grid from total collapse in the event of a major extreme geomagnetic solar storm.
Matt, stand by. You and I have to take our first 2-minute commercial break. www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com. That's MATSTEIN.com. We'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break. Don't go away. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Named one of the world's greatest psychics, Elizabeth Joyce is now giving readings worldwide via Skype. Elizabeth Joyce is recognized for her clairvoyant ability to help find missing persons, her analysis of dreams, past life regression work, mediumship, and her accurate predictions. Elizabeth has been a frequent guest on the X-Zone radio show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, now for several years. For an appointment with Elizabeth Joyce, call 201-934-8986 or Skype at elizabeth.joyce. And for more information, you can always visit Elizabeth Joyce online at www.new-visions.com.
Do you have a dis-ease that you would like to alleviate through a natural means? Have you been contacted by angels, ghosts, or even extraterrestrials and want to validate these experiences? Or would you simply like to speak with someone who can help you find your life's purpose? I'm Dr. Joseph Mara, and I'm offering my services free of charge for first-time clients contacting me during the month of April. These free consultations include angel card readings, guided meditations, life coaching, and energy healing. If you have always wanted to explore these types of experiences but were skeptical or simply could not afford them, Then take advantage of this free special offer. Contact me through my website, aguidinglight, spelled LITE.com, to schedule your consultation today. Until then, I offer you love, light, and laughter.
Exonation Matt Stein is our special guest of this hour. www.whentechfails.com or www.mattstein.com. And you can join Matt on Facebook and follow him on Twitter, or join him on LinkedIn by simply going to either one of these two sites. Matt, to me, this is an atrocity.
Oh, it is. You're talking a conservative estimate. The estimate that 130 million people would be out of power for 1 to 2 years is actually quite conservative. I mean, you're talking that if we have a storm the size of the 1921 storm, that's 90 years ago, the last time we had an extreme storm like that. And it was only 60 years before that when we had the Carrington event in 1859 that's estimated to be 50% stronger than the 1921 storm. Now, scientists from ice core samplings have estimated that the 1921 size storms hit every 75 to 100 years, roughly, on the average. Now, they could be 2 5 years apart and 2 200 years apart, but that's an average. So their estimate is that we have a 1 in 8 chance, that's almost a 15% chance, 1 in 8 chance every decade of having an extreme geomagnetic event like that. Now, it's been 9 decades since the last one, and there's only a 1 in 8 chance every decade. So doing the math, we're basically overdue right now. So this is not something that happens every 5 million years or every 500,000 years. This is like every 2 generations of people it happens, and it's been 2 generations since the last one. So we're due, and it's guaranteed to happen. We just don't know when. So this is an event, and people say, well, it happened in 1921. It was no big deal. Well, that's true, because in 1921 we didn't have the Internet. We didn't have nuclear power plants. We didn't have a massive grid interconnecting cities across the planet. We didn't have extra high voltage transformers, 350,000 to 1 million volt transformers. These transformers that our grid is totally dependent upon now to keep up and running, they're tens of millions of dollars each, hundreds of tons each, custom designed, and there's a 3-year delivery to get a single transformer designed and built and delivered. We're talking in Quebec in 1989, in a solar storm, 1/10 as strong, just 10% as strong as the 1921 storm. We're talking 1 transformer went down in Quebec, 1 went down in the UK, 1 went down in eastern United States. The UK and the eastern United States managed to keep the grid going. Quebec went down. That's 1.
Yeah.
We're talking 370 transformers, the computer models say, going down, estimated, give or take a few, in the event of a 1921-size storm. That's 370. When 14 of these went down in 2003, there was a strong geomagnetic storm, even weaker than the Quebec storm. And for some reason, it caused one of these transformers to fail in Sweden, and they kept the grid going. But 14 went down in South Africa, and it collapsed their grid. Now, the only way South Africa could provide power for the next year, they had to ration power and do rolling blackouts through the entire country for the next year. Now, imagine trying to do work where for 6 or 8 hours of the day, you have no elevators, no lights, no air conditioning, no refrigerators, nothing. And imagine now when all the backup generators in the country are bought in the first 2 hours after this meltdown, and now you have 100 times as many people who's got transformers the first day wanting transformers and backup generators and not being able to buy them. And they had to operate that way for a year. Now, that's only 14. So the world could supply 14, and it took them a year. But now, in a geomagnetic storm, extreme, you're talking most of the places in the world that make these things will be crippled and down and out, just like the United States. You're talking the rest of the world relying on a narrow strip in the deep tropics. You're relying on Mexico and Philippines and Malaysia and India to put together the rest of the world. And now those places are dependent on a lot of stuff that's made in other parts of the world that would be crippled by this storm. So you're talking a massive crippling effect where the high-tech centers of the world are mostly gone for a long period of time. And they've got to cold start the grid. They've got to isolate pieces of the grid from each other and get them running, and basically